Hi guys, perimeter and area today, pretty easy. We're going to find the perimeter and area basic shapes, triangles, squares, rectangles, circles, things like that. It's sort of review, but it is important for the rest of this class, really. Um, so today, let's take a look at two basic but really different concepts, perimeter and area. Last year with McClura, you guys did this a lot with like the fence around versus the space inside. So perimeter is that around, the distance around it. And again, that would be like the fencing. Now, the way that I like to remember is from those cop TV shows, or like Call of Duty or something like that. When we say we're forming a perimeter around a building, we're not going inside and storming the building, but we're going all the way around it to make sure no one comes out. Or area, on the other hand, that's everything inside. That's like how much dirt there is on the inside, or if you wanted to put weed block down or something like that. That's the space inside of a shape. The way that I remember this one, it's not as good as the whole perimeter, like forming a perimeter, is an area code. We're 716 here. I know if you go a little bit east, you're 585, but everyone inside of a certain area, so everyone that is inside of a certain area has the same area code. Like my dad used to work down in Pennsylvania. His was like 814 or something like that. So area code is everyone inside. That's, again, the weed block. Where the perimeter is the outside. That's like the fence. All right, so the next two definitions we're going to talk about are for circles only. Diameter and radius, they go together because they're really close to the same thing. A diameter is a straight line through a circle from one extreme to the other, basically going through the center. And a radius is half of that. It's half that diameter. All right, so now that we have those out of the way, let me show you guys some questions that you're going to see on my assessments and on the state assessment. So super basic one, find the perimeter of the shape to the right. Perimeter, I think, is a little bit easier because you don't have to memorize anything. You don't even have to look at your reference sheet. You just need to remember one thing. It's the distance around it. So if you're going to put a fence around this, and you just did 11 plus 7 and got 18, all your animals inside would go out over here. So you need to fence up this side too. So it's going to be 18 plus 5. And 18 plus 5 is 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. My perimeter is 23. Usually they'll give you units. You don't need to worry about that for this lesson, though. We're not going to talk about units to waste time. So that's perimeter. That's it. It doesn't really matter what it is. If they give you something like example 2, they might withhold some information. Do you guys remember what's so special about rectangles? Same sides or opposite sides are the same length, I guess, maybe is what I'm trying to say here. So that's going to be 7. That's going to be 11. So I'm going to say opposites are equal. So I got 22 between those two, 14 between those two. 22 plus 14 gives me 36, whatever the units are. All right. So can you guys pause the video for a second? Try this one, and then unpause it to see if you did it correct. All right, so this one's a square. So again, another tricky one. They withhold some info. Let's throw some 5s up on there. And 5 plus 5 is 10, plus another one is 15, plus another one is 20. So I got 20 units. Again, really, really easy. I think perimeter is pretty easy, and if you get that, you should be pretty happy. The sad thing is you probably won't get perimeter. You might, but I doubt it. Usually what you're going to get is area. And areas on your reference sheet, the formulas, they won't really give you, though, like square. They won't even say rectangle. I think they say parallelogram. I group all these together, though, because they're really closely related. So, like, instead of getting rectangle and square, again, like I said, they say parallelogram because they're all basically the same formula. A square is a rectangle with all equal sides, instead of 2 separate sets of equal sides. So because of this, the formula is the same for both. You don't really have to remember it, but you should. Like this one's really easy. It's just base times height. Now, I group triangle. It's not the same formula. It's not base times height, but I group triangle because of this. So if I have a rectangle and I cut it in half, what do you guys see? Well, obviously, you see two triangles. There's one triangle right here and another triangle down here. Right? There's two triangles. So because of that, if I cut it in half, I get two triangles. A triangle, one triangle, wouldn't it be half the size of that rectangle? So because of that, instead of just base times height, a triangle, because it's only half, is half base height. That's where that formula comes from. And on the next page, I start to write that. So because a triangle is half of a rectangle, the formula is half base height. Now this should be one of the easiest things you do all year. When it asks you to just find the area of something super similar like this, something super simple like this, the reason I'm even doing it is tomorrow we're going to talk about surface area, which is way tougher. So let's find the area of this guy. If you look at your reference sheet, find the word triangle. This formula will pop up. Yesterday we sort of touched that you really can put this 8 or this 5 anywhere. The order doesn't really matter. I'm going to put the 8 right there to take half of 8 and get 4 times 5 is 20. You obviously could have done 8 times 5 and gotten 40, and then went half of 40 to get 20 like that. Doesn't really matter. The big thing, though, again, is just that you remember what shape you're using. Here I'm using a rectangle, so it's not half base height anymore. That would be for a triangle. It's just base times height. So base times height on this one would be 3 times 9, which anyone should be able to get using that little finger trick, 27. All right, so I have area of a square below. Pause it just like before and try it. All right, hopefully that was good. This one I bet some people did, like 10 times 2 or 10 times 4. This thing down here is 10. So if that side's 10 and this side is 10, if I plug into base times height, shouldn't it be 10 times 10? Which is 100. Okay? And it'd be 100 units. Let's not talk even about what the units would be. It actually is 100 units squared. But we don't need to talk about that at the moment. That's another lesson. Oh, and would you guys pause and do this one as well? All right, and talking about this one, I end up getting half base height, 6, 4. I'm going to take half of 6 because it's bigger to get 3. 3 times 4 is 12. All right, so to summarize what we've learned so far, perimeter is the distance outside, and area is the space inside. The big one. The one that we're really going to talk about a ton this year, though, is going to be this next thing. We're going to talk about circles a lot. They love circles in this chapter, or in this, I guess, grade. We're going to talk about spheres and cylinders and cones and stuff like that. So we need to know a little bit about circles. So does anyone remember the area formula for a circle? Again, it's on your reference sheet, so you don't really need to memorize it, but I do want you to memorize it. It is pi r squared. Okay? McClure should have told you guys the cherry pies are delicious. That's for circumference. And then apple pies are 2. All right? But anyways, if they ask you to find the area of a circle, you can definitely just plug it right into your calculator. Like, that is extremely easy to do. So you just do pi r squared. You take that 7 and put it in right here. And you end up just putting in the pi button, the 7 button, and the squared button. And out would pop an answer. In fact, why don't we do it on mine real quick? So it is pi 7 squared, so I'm going to put the pi button, maybe. All right, so the pi button times the 7 button, and then hit squared. I end up getting that 153.98 or 938 and so on and so forth. They're usually going to ask us to round this to the nearest tenth, so I'm going to say 153.9. 153.9. Or sometimes they'll want us to leave it in terms of pi. If they ever say leave it in terms of pi, what they want you to do is leave the pi and then just do the rest of the work. So what's 7 squared going to give us? 49. So either pi 49 or 49 pi. It doesn't matter what order you put them in. You need to be able to know how to do both of those, though. So 153.9 or pi times 49. So let's do another example real quick so we can get used to doing that. So again, if I just plugged in to pi r squared, I would take that. Well, actually, would I take that 10 and plug it in? What would I plug in instead? Well, seeing that 10 is a diameter, I want just half of it, which obviously is pretty easy. That's just 5. So if I just take this and throw it into that calculator, hopefully it works. There we go. Times 5 squared. I end up getting 78.5. Or if I wanted it in terms of pi. So again, they just leave the pi and want us to do the rest of the work. I end up getting pi 25 or 25 pi. Okay? On the next page, I think I have you guys trying a couple. Pause it, do them both, and then we're done. All right, hopefully that was enough time. I end up getting pi r squared again. Do I need to cut that 12 in half or no? No. So I end up getting either 144 pi's or pi 144, or if you plugged that in, pi times 144, you'll end up getting 452.4. 452.4. 452.4. And then on the next one, I think they probably have us cutting this one in half. They do. So this one, what's the radius? 6. So pi 6 squared. So I got 36 pi's. Feel free to do it like that tonight on your homework. Or pi times 36 gives me 113.1. All right, some final thoughts then, guys, and we are done. Perimeter is a distance around an area of space inside. Find the perimeter. What do? You obviously just add everything. For area, there are formulas depending on the shape. Rectangles and blank have the same formula. Squares. Because they're really the same thing. A square is just a special type of rectangle. Triangles are half of rectangles, so the formula for a triangle is half base height. The big one, the one that we're going to use a ton this chapter, is the area of a circle, and that's pi r squared. And last, a diameter is blank a radius. Most people will say half. A diameter is not half of a radius. A radius is half of a diameter, so our diameter is double a radius. All right, guys, thanks for watching.